strongest of the strong shall survive. A weaker shall take us through the night. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. Things and times so rough, don't it get so tough. We never get enough. The Lord is nearer than, the Lord is nearer than. Yes, He must be nearer than. Things and times so rough, don't it get so tough. We never get enough. The Lord is nearer than. He must be nearer than. How we are gonna do? Money can't help you. Rich man I feel it too. The Lord is nearer than. He must be nearer than. Oh yeah. This is the strongest of the strong shall survive. A weaker shall take us through the night. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. If you have strong faith, you must stay alive.
Yes, greetings. We're there with you. So we have to say apologies for Friday. We don't know what the authorities did do or did whatever, but something did happen. So we apologize for that, even though it's something that we don't understand. You see, so give thanks for the coming in. Yeah, man. It took the selector off key, off guard, everything, everybody. I mean, post squad was going on good with him skanking, high grade and bright lights, navigator, even myself, I tell you, because when Lieutenant Stitchy drop in, yeah man, it looked like the place got hot, So maybe somebody know that Stitchy was coming. I don't know, but we want to stay with the racism. We want to stay with the racism, and we want to stay with the freedom. Yeah, what it means. What would it have meant if we did understand the English? What would it have meant if what was said to us was an actuality? Something that was factual and something that materialized, to which it hasn't. And what are we going to do? Are we going to actually stay the course? We're going to let patience and time be the controlling factor? Are we going to remember not to forget all those legends that stood up on our behalf, on their behalf and our behalf? Is that what we're going to do? But at the same time, I want to show my basketball brethren and sisterins across the pond that if they allow roast breadfruits to be their talk shop and persuade them, as well as make it seem that they are not doing something just, and then them get kind of and swear to play the games. They're not thinking of the future. And some people, even over here, must remember that Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, refused to serve in Vietnam. I got play him. And he didn't just say that. He meant it. And he was the heavyweight champion of the world. Money was at stake. His whole livelihood was at stake. But nevertheless, there were some African principles. And there was the guidance of Malik el-Shabazz, Malcolm X, and Elijah Muhammad, and W.D. Muhammad. And his brother, his family, I tell you. And then we must remember also the Black Panthers. What am I saying is that true to determination and pride of self and the stake that is on, which is that we're African people. And if we don't stand up to our own words, then we're failing others. And if we don't stand up ourselves, we're failing our families and failing our children. We're not a good example. Maybe that's why, especially here, when something does happen to us, and then we all come out and support because it pains us and everything. And then the law tells the family to tell us to depart. And we do just that. And the families never recognize that they were on their own before. And now they're not on their own because we're there. And the man tells them, the system tells them to ask us to depart. And they do. And that's the loss of that. Because we depart, and then they become subdued, and that's it. That's been happening time after time. But with Muhammad and the Black Panthers, you could have departed little more. He wasn't changing his mind. Yeah. Listen. Muhammad Ali.
Unemployed as a fighter. His title is gone, ripped away by various boxing commissions in the name. Quite an athlete across from me. He used to be named Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr., and his business was prize fighting. As a fighter, he became, in my opinion, and certainly in his own, the greatest. At the age of 25 now, he calls himself Muhammad Ali, and he's unemployed as a fighter. His title is gone, ripped away by various boxing commissions in the name of patriotism. He's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for induction to the United States Army.
Was only for self-gain, just beating up one of my brothers or somebody else's brother for money, possibly hurting him for life, which I did.
The greatest. At the age of 25 now, he calls himself Muhammad Ali, and he's unemployed as a fighter. His title is gone, ripped away by various boxing commissions in the name of patriotism. He's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for refusing induction to the United States Army. 8 years ago, he stood on a podium in Rome. An American flag blowing in the breeze, the Star-Spangled Banner being played. He was given a gold medal as an Olympic champion. People thought, here's a kid with a bright future, and he was known as the so-called credit to his race. He had talent in the ring, and he had maybe more talent outside of it. He loved ballyhoo. He loved putting on the nation with a great put-on, that he was the greatest. He maybe was the greatest poet since Robert Frost. At least he had more of his poetry published, saying, Archie Moore must go in for, things like that. But then the day after he became champion, he turned off a lot of the country by revealing that he was a convert to a religious sect known popularly as the Black Muslims and formerly as the Nation of Islam. And that antagonized a lot of the American people. So now his principal role is as a Muslim minister. He's had a varied career, an exciting, bizarre, celebrated career, and now perhaps a discouraging career. Or is it discouraging right now with this 5-year sentence?
No, sir. I would say what I'm doing now is more encouraging, and I get more out of it than boxing. Boxing was only for self-gain, just beating up one of my brothers or somebody else's brother for money, possibly hurting them for life, which I didn't intend to do, and I'm lucky I never really did. But I would say I'm getting more pleasure out of lecturing at the various Muslim mosques, converting so-called Negroes.
You're a minister of the Muslim faith.
Yes, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We preaches his teachings throughout America to our people. And I enjoy this much better than boxing. If I didn't, I would still be boxing. I chose this over boxing.
What about jail? Now, you're appealing, is that correct?
Oh, yes, jail. That could come up, and if I should lose the appeal, then I'll have to go to jail. And I'll be out of there in a few years.
Have you thought about jail, what it might mean? Have you talked about people who've been in jail 5 years?
Well, we are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that black people actually have been in jail for 400 years. We've been here in America. But I don't worry about jail. If I believe in Allah, I believe in Elijah Muhammad as the messenger of God, and many great men have to go to jail. And so I don't pay no attention to it. If the time comes, I'll just have to go. Boys in Vietnam are dying for what they believe, and I can't get on them for dying for what they believe, so I'll just have to, and they're dying to free foreign people 10,000 miles away, so I'll just have to suffer so that the so-called Negroes could be free, so they could have idol and the image they can look up to that didn't sell them out.
Do you think you can do more for your people by going to jail?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
There's
sir.
a report that your manager, Herbert Muhammad, advised you to enter the Army. Is that true?
No, sir. No, sir. He couldn't do nothing like that. Everything I do is of my own. He couldn't advise me to go to the Army. When did that report come out?
That report was in a New York paper about 2 weeks ago.
No, I didn't. This is just rumors. They can't believe that I'm this strong. They thought they would weaken me and put fear in me by threatening me to go to jail and taking my earning power. And they won't let me work in America. The government won't let me leave America where I can work. And I'm getting stronger, and this shakes up a lot of people to see that I'm this strong. It also makes other so-called Negroes strong who are facing the same problems, and in this way, I think I can do more for my people. They've never had a big black man that just stood up and identified with the struggle of his people 1,000%. Once they can get them a white girl, a blonde, a brunette, or a $100,000 home, or a show on Broadway, usually every Negro watching this show now will tell you that you can't talk to them. They're too big to be with their own people. They go marry other than their own kind, and I'm so happy and proud to become great in boxing, to become the greatest one that ever lived. The greatest.
You're still the greatest.
Yes, sir, the greatest boxer that ever lived. I'm the first one that they had to take a title from in the history of all of the red, white, and blue American title. I'm the first one that they tried to make the world believe that wasn't the champion, and that never has been beaten.
What about this title now, Ali? If you're in jail 5 years, can you come back and be the champion?
Well, I don't know. I'm not really worrying about boxing. The more I'm in the spiritual works that Elijah Muhammad preaches, preaching the word of Allah, God, I forget about sports. It's not in my blood. I don't eat rare steaks no more. They make you vicious. I just eat lamb now and fish, holy foods, and this keeps me from being vicious feeling, and I really don't miss it. I have nothing else to gain. I beat the best German they had to offer, the best that Canada had to offer, England, the best that America had to offer, two-time United States Golden Glove champion, AAU champion twice, Olympic gold medal winner, defended the title 9 times, predicted the rounds on my opponents, wrote poems in poetic fashion how they would fall, and I cannot go no farther in sports. And first, another thing I like to say, I'm the only black man that black people can now say has a champion, I would say Marsana, that's undefeated and retired.
That's true.
So
That's
Joe
true.
Louis came back. He let the people down. He got beat, and Sugar Ray was a black pride, and they got him beat up. But I'm the first one that
So
they
you
never
think you
could
might
get.
just stay undefeated?
Yes,
Is there
sir.
a conflict now? You say, and I certainly believe you and have been with you for long enough to know that you're very sincere in your beliefs, that you're a man of God, now a minister. Is there a conflict between that and being a prize fighter?
Well, yes, we don't believe in
A man of
sports.
peace.
We don't believe in sports, and we
The
don't
Muslims you're speaking of.
Right. We don't consider boxing men violent. It's just a sport. It's nothing. Our intention is not to kill. All we use is our fists, and they're padded. We have referees, doctors, and judges at ringside. The intention is to beat the man, outpoint him. And I've been criticized for not hurting me, and been criticized for carrying them because I don't like to hurt nobody. I showed all this in my fights. But if I did fight again, the only reason was to get out of debt. This is the only way that I have to make the necessary money to pay my draft lawyers, which I owe $280,000 that I spent in the courts.
$280,000 for your appeals and your trials and so on.
Fighting for justice cost me that much. And then other things, back alimony to the wife, and I can't pay nobody now because I'm not allowed to work and out the country. So if I did fight, it'll be for those reasons. But just boxing itself, I could box tomorrow if I want to. I could just go to the gymnasium and box, but it's the money.
3 years ago, when we were coming on the way from Boston in Big Red, your great bus with Boudini, Brown, Otis 5X was
Yeah.
driving. We had
Yeah.
quite a gang. You said to us, Whitey's get in the back of the bus, which we dutifully did. And we had a lot of fun. And the last fight, just even though you had all this on your mind and all the pressure, you were with Boudini and you put on the Dracula masks with Saria, one of your trainers. And we had a great time up there. And people who knew you, and you've had a lot of criticism in the press, but people who lived with you and knew you, knew what kind of person you were, and you enjoyed being champion. The people being around you and the notoriety and the celebrity, you enjoyed that. Do you miss that now? the fun?
No. As I said, I can't go no higher in boxing. There's no one I could beat who could get me more praise than being a boxer. I'm always around people. I'm still around people every day. I'm around 6 of them traveling with me today. Every city I go to, people are waiting for me. I just left college here.
MIT.
MIT University.
And you were well received
We have a
by predominantly white audience.
Yes, everywhere I go. We was up at Fairleigh Dickinson in New York, C.W. Post, Iona University, Canisius University, and Penn State, and Morgan State College, and
Well, you like to
Princeton.
be with people.
Oh,
There's no
yes.
doubt
So,
about that.
by me not boxing didn't take nothing away from me as far as fame is concerned, or people. I can always hold my head high. I can always put on a necktie, and I can talk. Most boxers, you bring them on this show now, even the ones fighting, they couldn't talk like I'm talking
Well,
now.
nobody
It's-
can talk like you can talk.
Yeah, so I have lots to fall back on, so I can't just ask the question in long. I just can't miss boxing.
Do you remember, Ali, that night when we were on the bus? We were in Yulee, Florida. We stopped to get some food. It was a Jim Crow diner. They threw Boudini out, and you didn't go in.
I told him not to go at first. I told him not to go because I can tell. I went in first, and the man said something about we don't serve Negroes. I said, yes, sir, I'm sorry. And I went because we who are Muslims don't believe in forcing our places, self.
And you said
into
to
places
Boudini
of
that
our
night,
own.
you said, you're following Martin Luther King and people like that, and you're wrong, did you not?
No, I don't remember saying that. And I didn't mention him. I'm sure I didn't. I said.
But I think you said
that-
something about that wasn't the way to go about it. for
Well,
the
I
Negro,
said if the
way-
man don't want you there, and this is his restaurant, and if he hates you that much to put you out or to shoot his own white brother to keep you out, there's a possibility that vanilla milkshake you want, when he go back to fix it, he could, spit in it. And I'm sure if somebody spit in the milkshake and mix it up, you couldn't see it. And I don't see why you You have to be sick mentally to want to force yourself into places where you're not wanted. You see the man hate you. You see they don't want you down here. I want you to leave him alone. We're going somewhere else. He said, no, I'm going in. I'm an American. I'm American. I got a right to go. Oh, I said, well, come on out. I bet you I'll come out with what I want. 5 minutes later, he came out with nothing. He said, treat me like that. I'm a man. I said, I told you, leave the people alone. They didn't want you. You just make yourself look like a fool. So we went on down the street, another white
Finally got
restaurant.
some,
We could eat in.
Georgia.
Right,
Yeah,
we could eat in.
Yeah. But tell us about the Muslims now. As I said, the day after you won, you remember that very well. Sonny Liston, the big old bear, as you call him, sat in his corner, quit to you. You became champion of the world. Everybody thought this is a refreshing young man.
I always wondered what was his trainer talking about. I'll let you finish right after this. You know what his trainer was talking about when Liston sat on the stool?
No.
He said, Sonny, get up, the bell rung. Sonny said, my mama didn't raise no fool. I'm staying right here on my stool.
You got that poetry still going.
What was you going to say?
No, I was going to say that the next day, Ali, when everybody was saying the stereotype thing, here's a refreshing young man, we
Good
found
boy.
out you were a Muslim, and people got scared.
I got bad all of a sudden, yeah.
People got scared,
I
and
don't
you got
know.
bad all of a sudden, right,
I
overnight.
was a good boy when I was hollering, I am the greatest. I cannot be beat. I am pretty. I'm the king. He. I was a good boy. But when I said I'm a Muslim, my religion is Islam, what's wrong with that? You have 600 million Muslims on earth, and Muslim only mean one who submits entirely to the will of God, Allah, and Islam only means peace, entire submission to God, and we don't believe in forcing ourselves on
Do you hate
white
the
people.
whites?
No, sir, we don't hate
Why
whites.
has that grown up, do you suppose, that the
No,
Muslims
this is
are a
false
hate white
propaganda
group?
to scare Negroes, to keep them from coming, because Negroes by nature love their enemy. They pray for those who use them. Negroes by nature don't hate nobody. And so if they can make people think that we're a hate group, that'll frighten them. But we don't hate white people. We know white people. We know the history of white people. For an example, if a tiger broke in this room now, I would beat you getting out. If a rattlesnake broke in here, I'd beat you getting off of this stage. I don't hate rattlesnakes. I don't hate tigers. I just know I can't get along with them. After learning the nature of the snake and the tiger, I don't want to try to eat with him or sleep with him because I know that he might bite me. So now that I
You
know
don't
that,
think that we can ever get along? I
I
think that was your point with
I
Martin
know,
Luther King.
I know
when you
whites and blacks cannot get along. This is nature. This getting worse every day. The latest government fact-finding committee just said that things are becoming to be separate, just two societies, black and white. That's what we've been telling you, separation. Now the government admits that that's coming. White women have got gun clubs all over the country. Learn how to shoot at black targets. Understand they're making guns that'll shoot through brick walls just to get Negroes. And
Do
they,
you believe that?
I know it. I said Mayor Daley on Chicago, I think, somebody ordered helicopters or something just with these rats and rotating machine guns on them, and they breeding dogs that just attack black people, all kind of spray and mist and banana slick. And
Well, what are you going to do now as one of the prominent black persons and a
Teach 'em
person who
all.
can be a leader and that you
I'm
look
not
up
gonna be
to?
a
What
leader,
is your
but
role in this
I can't
perhaps
be a-
civil
I
war, as people call it?
Can't be a leader, but I can tell them about the leader. All I can tell them is to join on to their own kind, accept their own kind, join on to the true religion, which is Islam, join on to the Muslim teachings, which is taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the honest black man preaching the truth to black people. Clean up your own neighborhoods, do something for yourself, quit
has
begging
this
to
religion
integrate
done for
and
you?
beg to separate.
Ali.
Well, if number one, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the religion of Islam has given me a beautiful name, Muhammad Ali, which is connecting me with some 56 Muslim countries. I have 56 government invitations. This is why Washington won't let me go to Japan to fight, because the prosecuting attorney there came to Houston and told the judge that if we let this man leave, he might not come back because he has 600 million Muslim brothers that would gladly make him a millionaire fugitive. So this is what it's done to me, where I used to try to get love of whites and beg to be with whites, and now I can go sit with kings in Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Pakistan, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia. This has taught me a knowledge of myself, taught me to love and respect my own people, taught me to marry and my own women, all great Negroes.
But you're obviously not uncomfortable with whites. I don't think you are.
I'm uncomfortable.
Are you
with
uncomfortable with
anybody.
me right now?
No, I'm comfortable. I'm real comfortable with you. Of course, I know how far to go with you. I'm not going to go home with you now and flirt with your daughter. I'm not going to try to push you out of your suburb. I integrate so far. See, we don't. That's why I like Governor Wallace. He tells the truth about
You
things
like
like
George
that.
Wallace?
Yes, sir. That truth he tells, we like. He tells the truth.
You believe that?
I see him telling the truth.
You don't believe he's been a tough influence in this country and a bad influence?
Well, I don't agree with everything nobody say, but I like what he say when he says that Negroes shouldn't force themselves into white neighborhoods, and white people shouldn't have to move out of the neighborhoods just because one Negro comes. If they don't want to sell the house to him, he shouldn't, and that makes sense. If a person don't want you, why are you going to push yourself on him? And Wallace is admitting that this ain't right, and let the people do what they want to do. They need local government where they can decide what they want to do in their own community, and just don't make some northern so-called liberal come in and bust the neighborhood up, and they all have to pack up and go somewhere else and always be
Well, what would you say
uncomfortable.
for your people? They're living in deplorable conditions in Chicago now. They're living in terrible conditions in Chicago.
This is
now.
all over the world living in terrible conditions. This is why Elijah Muhammad teaches us that they need some land of their own, where they can produce and build their own homes, schools, factories, and hospitals, since they're suffering and been turned away from many of whites, and get some land. Since we helped build America to be fit to the richest states on the planet, fought in all American wars to help maintain and uphold the government, why not should we have some of the land where we can build and construct? Negroes are doctors, Negroes are lawyers, physicians, mechanics, plumbers, electricians. Why not can we go somewhere now and build a future for our children such as other people? Why should we just remain beggars and employees? Why not can we go and a job?
But do you think this could happen? In other words, you want some land in the United States. for
Now
your
Elijah
people.
Muhammad teaches us that God taught him, not me, that this land should be here or elsewhere, just like all people. No people can be free and independent without land. No people can be free if they can't feed themselves. No people can be free if they don't clothe themselves. Negroes are 22 million people, Elijah Muhammad teaches us. We don't make shoestrings. 22 million people and don't have a toothpick factory. 22 million people, if you white people closed the grocery stores tomorrow, we would starve to death.
But you have your own stores in the Muslim community.
Elijah Muhammad's buying hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland throughout the country, canning up and food and taking it to supermarkets and his restaurants that he's building all over the country. He's got his own colleges, universities. He's on radio worldwide now, national here in America. He's on TV in Washington. He prints 2 million newspapers a week called Muhammad Speaks.
Yes, we've seen it. It's
And
on
he's
sale
got
in Boston.
mosques and temples all over the country, and he is the black man for black people to follow. He's not just asking for a job. He's not just asking for a house in a white neighborhood. This is nothing. See, Negroes are actually fighting for equality with the white man's dog. You may say, why? Well, when they say we want open housing, they still not getting nothing. The dog ain't got. The dog sleeps in the house with white people, in the bed, many of them. And Negroes want to ride on the best transportation up front with the white people. The dogs do better than that. He ride right in the front seat. I see him when the sun's shining. Dogs ride right in the front seat of the car. And Negroes, they won't eat the white man restaurant and this and that. Still, the dogs eat at the same plate. I see this. So in reality, the Negro's not fighting for equality with the white man. He's fighting for equality with the white man's dog. To be equal with the man, he needs some airports. He needs some train stations, some television companies, some water plants. He needs some
It's going to be
farmland.
hard to get, though, isn't it?
And not if he has some land of his own.
He has some land.
And if the white man gave him justice and repaid him for building up this country and working 310
Some
years
people
without
like
a
Stokely
payday.
Carmichael and Ralph Brown say that the white man will not do this, though. And
well-
that they have to be militant. They are militant. You, I
Well,
think,
we
probably
look-
know these men, do you not?
I know them good. We would look like fools trying to be valiant against the most powerful military country on earth. We would look like bulls running down a railroad track head on into a more locomotive train. You might say, look at that brave bull, but when that bull come head on with that train, all he will have left as his monument is his blood and his flesh on the track. See, we can't be powerful against the man who makes the bullets, who makes the guns. We look like fools with a pop gun hiding on the roof shooting at the army. If every Negro had a machine gun, a tank, a bazooka, a year's round of ammunition, and a good hideout, we wouldn't have a chance because we don't control no food. After 2 or 3 days, we'd be hungry. For us to be violent against America, we would have to have superior weapons than America, and we don't have the factories nor the earth to dig the material to manufacture the weapons. And if we would get the weapons, we would have to get them from
So you don't agree with
And I'm
Stokely,
sure you are not going to give Negroes weapons to shoot you with. So I'm not here to talk. Say I don't agree with Stokely. I don't agree with Rap Brown. I don't agree with the late Martin Luther King. We're all black people who are fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. Everybody have their approach. There's a war going on in Vietnam. One man fights from the air. One man fights from the land. One man fights from on top of the water. One man fights in the submarine under the water. One man comes from, he's a Secret Service man or a spy. They're all fighting the same common enemies. They say the North Vietnamese people, but they have different approaches. Negroes have different approaches for their freedom. One man men believe in integrating. One day we all be white, he say. Look like white people after 200 years. One believes that education and politics will solve it. One believes shooting and looting and burning up the country will solve it. One man believes integration will solve it. And we believe separation somewhere to ourselves will solve it. So we're not here to talk about these fellows. The same dog that bit them bit me and is biting me. But we just don't agree with their approach to the freedom. But we all are for them if they are sincere in their way. And one day we hope that they will all soon recognize the true leader, Elijah Muhammad, and will all soon be Muslims.
What do you think will happen? Elijah Muhammad is a very old man. One day he must die. Like
He will
all
die.
do.
One day
What
he'll
do you
die.
think will happen to your group?
Well, when he
Your
dies,
sect.
we will be in heaven. We'll be in the hereafter on earth. America will be destroyed, and this will all be over. The Negroes with America will go down with America, and Allah.
When he dies.
When he dies, we will be free. His work will be over, and we have a few just around the corner. We don't have a lot of more years here in America.
Tell us about.
And I would like to say that Moses died too. Noah died. Lot died. All of God's prophets died, but they accomplished their missions. And
You
his
consider
mission,
Elijah Muhammad a prophet of
he's
God.
a messenger.
Messenger.
He's not here to tell us what's going to happen. He's telling us what's happening. He's a messenger. He's the messenger of Allah to the so-called Negroes.
What about your own life now? You're married, you have a young
Yeah, I
wife.
got a little baby on the way. In about a month and a half, I'll have
Congratulations.
another little boy, I hope, and I'm young enough to hold the crown until he's around.
Do you think he'll be the champion?
Well, I don't think I want him to box. I'm going to send him to school, and I'm going to make him study and work, and he's going to be a wise man. He won't box.
You're living in Chicago now.
Right, I bought me a nice little home there and fixed it up nice, and
Still
got
driving
me a
the
little
Cadillac?
beautiful 18-year-old Muslim girl. Oh, yes, I got a couple of them old Cadillacs, but I'm trying to get my airplane. Cars are too slow. I travel so much. Every day I'm in certain cities, and I'm always moving. I always have calls, and driving are killing me. And I would like to have my own private plane, and now I'm pricing a Learjet, and I have a company
Just like
there
Niarchus.
in Kansas City where they make those things, Wichita. They are working now with giving me a good deal on one where I maybe probably could lease it. Cause it's
Well, I
too
guess
much
I'll
to buy.
pry into your personal affairs. There have been so many stories that you've been like Joe Louis and that you're broke.
Yes,
you owe your
I'm
lawyers
about-
$280,000 on one hand. Now you talk about buying a Learjet.
Yeah, I'm about gone. I said lease, see.
Lease,
You ever
I
say
see.
lease at the end? Yeah. But tax will pay for it anyway. But and what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, I'm just about broke. I'm not allowed to work here now in America. I'm not allowed to leave America. I'm not like Joe Louis. I didn't fight 13 years. See,
You
I
had
was
29 fights and won them all.
Yeah, but I just only had 9 title fights, and out of those 9 big title fights, my cut was $2 million. My cut after everybody got
After
theirs.
everything. That was your cut, $2 million.
No, not after everything. This is before taxes.
Before taxes.
Yeah, after my manager was paid, after
Right.
my opponent was paid, the peanut man, the popcorn man, and everybody, my cut was $2 million. And out of $2 million, the 10 white men that backed me in Louisville, they made a deal with the government behind my back. I knew nothing about it. Real quick, they made a deal with the government where they would give the government 90% of all my earnings before I got them. This
Before you
was
got
called the Joe Louis law to keep me from being broke, they say. But 90% of my $2 million went to the American government. So that only left me 10% out of $2 million to live on. And out of that, I had to pay $150,000 to get rid of my first wife because she wasn't joining the faith. And then naturally, it cost me money to live. So the money's about gone. And not only me, I don't know why people are so confused over one Negro boxer getting low in funds or depleted in funds when America's broke. America's now canceling trips and things to save money. So if you know if big, powerful America can get broke, you know a little Negro boxer can get broke.
Well, that's true. You can. You've severed all connections now with your management group in Louisville, which is the group that brought you on. Did you leave them in a friendly manner?
Oh, yeah. The contract ran out. And they wanted to renew it, but they didn't want to give me the price for it, so we just had to find another manager.
You go back to Louisville often to see your mother and
Oh,
father?
yes, I was there 2 days ago. I was in Louisville, but I don't have time to stay there too much. The town looks so small, and the people move so slow. The friends are raised up. We'll still stand on the same corner, ain't doing nothing, just hanging around the same places. And when you get out and travel and knowledge when you get knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and when you've been around the world a couple of times like me and talking to wise men like you, newspaper men, and on all these TV shows, and this makes you wise and intelligent. When you go back to these little one-horse towns, you just can't stay there 2 hours. You just, after a day, I'm ready to get out.
Well, you got to move. I've noticed that about you. You like to move. You're a restless person.
Even in jail, I'm gonna have a moving plan.
Move you from cell to cell, or I don't know. Have you gotten any specific word about when they will act on your appeal?
I got a letter the other day said, get ready because they're cleaning out your cell to take you on the trail to the jail cell without bail.
Without bail. And are you getting ready?
Yeah, if I have to. I told my wife, she's packing up a few things, and I left a certain money I buried for her to go back to.
You buried. You better watch the IRS.
Yeah.
Probably watching this show.
That's all right. I bear a lot of money that I make after taxes. I make a little money. Like if I make $1,500 in speaking engagement, I give the government that 30%. Then I take what's left of mine. I don't put it in the banks because banks might go broke or they might get robbed. And I just take my money and I hide it here and hide it there and tell her where the hideouts are.
Well, you're not too worried. Now, Bill Russell, whom you know, of course, who coaches the Boston Celtics here, I said to him 2 years ago, I said, it's a shame that this boy, who's such an attractive boy and such a fine guy and a good fighter, may wind up broke, like Joe Louis. And he said, well, that just shows that you don't understand. And he said, you just don't understand that that's why we admire him so, is it because he's ready to give up everything for his religion.
Yeah, I haven't
go around and do this. And they don't equate you with Joe Louis at all.
These people you're talking about, they spent money on white women. They set up bars and they went playing pool and golf for $1,000 a hole. And they were known to make millions and millions when it wasn't no high taxes. And they were not hindered by white America. They were allowed to see. The white America has completely closed all the doors on me. I'm not allowed to work in America, out of America. I was stopped right in my prime just when I started making money. So you can't compare me with nobody like Joe Louis or nobody. And I
don't think we can compare you with anybody.
I can, yes, and tomorrow I can go back to get the money. If I would only deny my faith, if I would only join up against my religion, I could easily go back to making millions. So I can always say that I turned this down. I didn't lose it. I turned it down. And I go out still with my head high.
You've always had your head high, Muhammad.
Yes, and thank you. And I'm not what they call Uncle Tom. And money, the flesh and the blood of my freedom, of the flesh and the blood and the freedom of my people comes before money. And this is why black people are nowhere today. The white man, such as you are saying now, you're always talking about money. You're broke, or you're losing money. They threaten our people with money. You won't eat, how you gonna live? Well, this is why we are nowhere today, because every time a black man get in a position where all the babies are following him, where all the youth is following him, then
They're all looking when you're moving around, aren't they?
Yeah, who's looking?
But everybody's looking when you're there. They like to see you come in, the babies and everybody.
Oh, yeah, so I feel proud. I can tell him he's the greatest. I can tell him to be somebody. I can tell him to fear not. Oh, what are you losing? Look what I did. Now I can preach. This all helps what I'm standing for. And I'm just happy. Everything I'm doing, I like. People see me and say, why are you not tired or old looking or gray? You're so happy. Where are your bodyguards? You don't have no bodyguards? I said, I haven't done nothing without bodyguards.
It's great to have you with us, Muhammad Ali, prize-fighting champion, minister to his people now. Muhammad Ali, thank you.
And I want Joe Frazier as soon as you get it ready.
Okay, Joe Frazier for the title.
We all can unite. debate at the Oxford Union. And before the debate, I was with several of the students. We were discussing a variety of things for a couple hours at a dinner. And toward the end of the dinner, a girl that had been one of the diners pointed out, she said, you know, you're just not what I was looking for. So I asked her, what were you looking for? I knew what she was looking for. She was looking for the horns that had been created by the press. And those horns mean she was looking for someone who was out to kill all white people, who was a segregationist, a rabble-rouser, an irrational, an extremist, subversive, seditious, someone who couldn't hold a conversation with just anyone. This is what she was looking for, because she was looking for something whose image she only knew from what she had read by a very biased press, a press that has perfected image making to a science. And then they use these images to make people love whom they will and hate whom they will. Not based upon what the people themselves discover for themselves, but based strictly upon the image that the press wants to create and then project to the world. So in both instances, they didn't see the horns. Perhaps the horns were there, but they were well hidden. So I just take time to mention that because it's very dangerous for you and me to form the habit of believing anything completely about anyone or any situation when we only have the press as our source of information. It's always better, if you don't want to be completely in the dark, to read it, but don't come to a conclusion until you have an opportunity to do some personal, first-hand investigating for yourself. And if you ever are going to hold a position of leadership, along with which goes a great deal of responsibility, my advice to you would be just that, to be very careful about letting others create images for you. Always examine for yourself. The American press, in fact the FBI, used press to create almost any kind of image they want of anyone on the local scene. And then you have other police agencies of an international stature that's able to use the world press to create images of anyone whom they want or anything that they want. And if the press is able to project someone in the image of an extremist, no matter what that person says or does from then on is considered by the public as an act of extremism. No matter how good it is, it's because it's done by this person who has been projected as an extremist, no matter what it is or how good it is or how positive it is or how constructive it is. The people who have been misled by the press have a mental block, and the press knows this. If the press can project someone as subversive or a group as subversive, no matter what that group does, is looked upon as subversive. They could run and save someone from drowning in the middle of the Hudson, but it's still, the act is looked upon with suspicion, because the press has been used to create suspicion toward that certain image. If a person is projected by the press in an image that's an image of irresponsibility, then no matter how responsible that person's actions may be, the people look upon that act as an irresponsible act. And I point these things out especially for you and me, those of us who are trying to come from behind and not get ahead, but at least get even. If we aren't aware, we'll find that all these modern methods of trickery that they have perfected to a science will be used, and we will be maneuvered into thinking that we're getting freedom or thinking that we're making progress when actually we will be going backward. Likewise, if they can project you in the image or project someone in a violent image or in the image of someone who goes for violence, and you accept that image, then whatever that person becomes involved in, as far as you're concerned, he believes in violence. He could save a baby from the path of a car, but you don't see someone saving the baby from the path of a car. You see someone who believes in violence. And these methods have been used very skillfully by the power structure, the national power structure as well as the international power structure. And one of the things that you and I, as an oppressed people, should be on guard against, as I said, is to be very careful about letting anyone paint our images for us. The world press, as well as the American press, can make the victim of a crime look like the criminal, and can make the criminal himself look like he's the victim. You don't think that this is possible for someone to do that to your mind.
Since I could see that America itself is a society where there is no brotherhood, and that this society is controlled primarily by racists and segregationists, and it is, who are in Washington, D.C. in positions of power, and from Washington, D.C. they exercise the same forms of brutal oppression against dark-skinned people in South and North Vietnam, or in the Congo, or in Cuba, or in any other place on this earth where they're trying to exploit and oppress. This is a society whose government doesn't hesitate to inflict the most brutal form of punishment and oppression upon dark-skinned people all over the world. To wit, right now, what's going on in and around Saigon and Hanoi, and in the Congo and in elsewhere. They are violent when their interests are at stake. But all of that violence that they display at the international level, when you and I want just a little bit of freedom, we're supposed to be nonviolent. They're violent. They're violent in Korea, they're violent in Germany, they're violent in the South Pacific, they're violent in Cuba, they're violent wherever they go. But when it comes time for you and me to protect ourselves against lynchers, they tell us to be nonviolent. That's a shame, because we get tricked into being nonviolent. And when somebody stands up and talks like I just did, they say, well, he's advocating violence. Isn't that what they say? Every time you pick up your newspaper, you hear where one of these things has written into it that I'm advocating violence. And I have never advocated any violence. I've only said that black people who are the victims of organized violence perpetrated upon us by the Klan, the Citizens Council, and many other forms, we should defend ourselves. And when I say that we should defend ourselves against the violence of others, they use their press skillfully to make the world think that I'm calling on violence, period. And I wouldn't call on anybody to be violent without a cause. But I think the black man in this country, above and beyond people all over the world, will be more justified when he stands up and starts to protect himself, no matter how many necks he has to break and heads he has to crack. I saw in the paper where on the television, where they took this black woman down in Selma, Alabama, and knocked her right down on the ground, dragging her down the street. You saw it. You're trying to pretend like you didn't see it because you knew you should have done something about it and didn't. It showed the sheriff and his henchmen throwing this black woman on the ground, and Negro men standing around doing nothing about it, saying, well, let's overcome them with our capacity to love. What kind of phrase is that? Overcome them with our capacity to love. And then it disgraces the rest of us, because all over the world the picture is flashed showing a black woman with some white brutes with their knees on her, holding her down, and full-grown black men standing around watching it. Why, you are lucky they let you stay on earth, much less stay in the country. When I saw it, I dispatched a wire to Rockwell. Rockwell was one of the agitators down there. Rockwell, this Lincoln Rockwell. And the wire said, in essence, that this is to warn him that I am no longer held in check from fighting white supremacists by Elijah Muhammad's separatist black Muslim movement, and that if Rockwell's presence in Alabama causes harm to come to Dr. King or any other black person in Alabama who's doing nothing other than trying to enjoy their rights, then Rockwell and his Ku Klux Klan friends would be met with maximum retaliation from those of us who are not handcuffed by this nonviolent philosophy.
I'll never forsake you. Jah love you. Ooh, I know my Jah love me. Yes, I know Jah will never leave I alone. Yes, I know Jah with me wherever I go. Oh yeah, yeah, Jah love forevermore. Make them talk, them evil talk. Let them do their wrongs. Oh, their heart is filled with hate and grudge. My heart is filled with love. I'd rather be the firelight. Oh yeah, 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 burning through the dark. 'Cause I know my Jah love me. Yes, I know Jah will never leave I alone. Yes, I know them evil talk. Let them do their wrongs. Their heart is filled with hate and grudge. My heart is filled with love. I'd rather be the firelight. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Burning through the dark. 'Cause I know my Jah love me. Yes, I know Jah will never leave I alone. Yes, I know Jah with me wherever I go. Oh yeah, yeah. Jah loves forevermore. He's my strength through the rocky. So I don't get weary, no, no. Over the hills and through the valley, yeah. 10,000 round about me. Oh yeah, I fear not of them in highs and lows. Oh yeah, yeah. 'Cause Jah is powerful. And I know Jah love me. Yes, I know Jah will never leave I alone. Yes, I know Jah with me wherever I go. Oh yeah, yeah. Jah loves forevermore. To myself I had to laugh when they wish for my downfall. Boy. Still I walk.
Yeah, you see a rhythm like that. A rhythm they're supposed to be in all church. National anthem in all church. May I tell you? Black church, African church. Yes.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just thank you for the birds and the bees. Just thank you for the breeze and the trees. The sun, the moon, and the stars. Some of the greatest gift by far. You have given us a lot of things, but most of all,
You see, some people them think so we are heathens. Them just see us as heathens. And even some of our own people think that we are heathen, you know. But you see, when I listen to a good son like me, them say, right, it is what's happening. You see? Okay.
Minister Malcolm, I'd like to know why you place so much emphasis on calling the freedom struggle among Afro-Americans in this country a struggle for human rights rather than civil rights.
Well, most of our people don't even know the meaning of civil rights. And by not knowing what it is they're actually trying to get, it has eluded us for the past 100 years. Civil rights is supposed to mean citizenship. When you have civil rights, you have citizenship. When you have citizenship, you have civil rights. And if the 22 million Afro-Americans were actually citizens of this country, it wouldn't be necessary to pass any kind of additional legislation to include us in the Constitution. If you notice, whenever the people come here from Europe, they can come here from Poland, which is a communist country. They don't need any legislation to make this Polish person a citizen. They don't need any additional civil rights legislation to make the refugees from Hungary who come here citizens. They don't need any additional legislation to make anyone who comes to this country a citizen. But when it comes to the rights of the black people who are the descendants of slaves, then immediately new legislation is necessary.
So this right here implies that when the Constitution was written, in some way or other, it must have excluded those of us who were slaves at that time. And because we were excluded from the Constitution when it was originally written, today they have to amend it in order to include us. But if you notice, the Civil War didn't include us in the Constitution. Had the Civil War Constitution, we would be citizens today. Had the amendments even to the Constitution actually included us, we would be citizens today. If the Supreme Court desegregation decision way back in 1954 was sufficient to include us into the jurisdiction of the Constitution, all of our problems would be solved today. So there's something about civil rights that makes it almost impossible for us to get it. So you have to know the difference between civil rights and human rights. As long as our people are begging for civil rights, or they are labeling their struggle for freedom, justice, and equality under the label of civil rights, then what they do is leave us in the jurisdiction of Uncle Sam's courts. And it's actually Uncle Sam who is guilty of all of the violation of our rights that have taken place in this country. So when you go to Uncle Sam to try and get some kind of redress over civil rights violations, you're taking your case to the man who's responsible for the violation. So the only way our people can really get some meaningful results, it has to be taken out of Uncle Sam's hands and taken into a world court. And the world court that has been set up to listen to the complaints of human rights violations is in the United Nations. Human rights are international, and civil rights come within the jurisdiction of the country where these rights are violated. Some people may wonder why our brothers from Africa and Asia have not spoken out more boldly or without compromise on the injustices that the 22 million Afro-Americans experience in this country. They can't speak out. As long as these injustices are labeled by us as civil rights, then this remains a domestic issue, and none of our people from abroad, because of protocol, can become involved in Uncle Sam's domestic problems. So all the civil rights groups have to do is expand the struggle from civil rights to human rights. And once it is expanded to the level of human rights, then this puts us in a position to charge Uncle Sam with violating the UN Charter on Human Rights. We can take it before the United Nations, and other nations of this earth can then side with us and indict Uncle Sam for the mistreatment of 22 million Afro-Americans. The very fact that the struggle of the black people in South Africa, or I should say the injustices that have been experienced by black people in South Africa has come before the UN, or the injustices experienced by our own people again in Angola has been brought before the UN. Even the oppression of the Hungarians has been brought before the UN. The plight of the Jews in Soviet Russia, and there's only 3 million of them in Russia, has been brought before the UN. Well, then why hasn't the problem of the 22 million Afro-Americans come before the United Nations? It has not come before them because the leaders of the civil rights struggle don't understand what civil rights actually amount to. When they are mature to the point where they can see that their present struggle has kept them under Uncle Sam's jurisdiction, and Uncle Sam is not morally capable of solving this problem, then they will shift it out of the courts of Uncle Sam and take it to the courts of the United Nations on the level of human rights, and we'll get some kind of meaningful results. As long as we keep it at the civil rights level, we alienate the support of our brothers and sisters in Africa and Asia. But when we shift it to the level of human rights, we have the support of billions of black, brown, red, and yellow people from all over this earth behind us.
You understand that part there?
Me come to talk to Father God. Me not stay long. Me just come to talk to him for 5 minutes. I hang up. Now, Jesus, imagine. You take my favorite female artist, Whitney Houston. Jesus, you go back again. And you take my favorite male singer, Michael Jackson. When you say heal the world. No, Jesus, you go again. You go as far as you take my favorite boxer, Muhammad Ali. So God, Donald Trump is one of my favorite president. Where are we at, Pan?
See, when you listen to things in times, that you listen to. When you listen to things in times, you try and keep it real. You see? Because we want results. When you listen to things in times, we have lived this as well. We've experienced this as well. See? So it's just gone round and around and around. Nothing to change. And time is a lesson learned. We are tired. We African people, we are tired. We children of the slave in the diaspora, we are tired. We are tired. We are tired. God Almighty knows, say we're tired, man. See? So we can't take no hang up, no sellouts, no more frustration. Because we're tired. We're tired and we can't tired no more. Them send millions of us into the graves. Them send thousands of us into the mental institutions. And then them send millions of us in a penitentiary. And them have millions of us a broke rockstone and clean rivers and build thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of tracks and roads still today. And then you have hundreds of thousands in unmarked, unnamed graves. Come on, man, we're tired. Racism? No, it's more than that. We have to find another name. It's a different name. We have to find a different name. Anti-Semitic, we should all adopt that kind of racism and see what that can do for us, because when that is mentioned, people tremble. Listen, serious thing, listen. And we hear say the big man are go come on Saturday, and them send the 4 them out there already. You see? Anyone who come in with a blind shot can get a huge round of applause. But we are tired. This is not the time for plaudits. This is not even the time for I've told you so. This is not the time to remind those who did not hear and who did hear already, I've told you so. This is not the time to remind people again that America is in trouble. To hell with that. These are the times that one should be telling the people, right turn, stand attention. Yeah, that way I say. You see? But even that is only a spectacle. Is it that we're going right and we're not turn back? Or we're going up and not look back, look down? You see? I'm an old soldier, and there's thousands, millions of us. We're tired. No sweet sound of emotion. I've told you so. Because someone like us, we're going to say, but we knew. Because we heard it. And that's what you don't want. So you waited. And the space is going to be granted unto you because Isn't it the independence? See? And fortunately, it's come on a weekend. Fortunately, not for us, but for the theatrics. We're tired, man. Relax yourself. And all of those who love them type of thing, if it is not 100 judges and 150 prosecutors, and so on and so on and so on, and Africa sitting at the table in the UN come the Monday, it's nothing. It's nothing. It would be nothing. All our heroes, all our freedom fighters, not heroes, all our freedom fighters in the Caribbean, their businesses wasn't about reminding the opposition, it was reminding us. And it was to keep us brave, not soft as popping just like a feather. And was to remind us that when we saw our brother's head on a stick, remember, not to forget, it's freedom we want. So fret not, even though you're afraid. Fret not. So why we got all these 21st century punking outs? And if it's Al-Islam, which it isn't, but if it's Al-Islam, you know there's no turn the other cheek. And you know there's no stalling. You know that law, legality, what should have been the order of the day. But you don't read these things. You surmise things and then say that the Quran says and the Bible says. Yes, the Bible says, but the Quran don't say. To say that the Quran says, you need to read the verses or highlight the verses. Treat not the Quran like you treat the Bible. That's what's got people confused. That's what's got people confused. You keep preaching pearly gates. Prediction. So what about the resurrection for the black man? What about the escape for the black man? What about salvation for the black man? To hell with America and its problems. All wicked people, black or white, will perish. Some will get it spontaneously. Some will get it through longevity. Some we may not witness. No one may witness in this life. So that's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can curse them through remembrance, but not through prediction. That's Allah's business and His messenger's business. And to my knowledge, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not predict no fault, no failure on Abu Sufyan, which was the leader, the president of Arabia. Him just ask him to desist from oppression. Just like Moses asked Pharaoh to desist from oppression. So we'll come back to Moses and Busafian and Joseph, because you sent your forerunner to make the people believe that you're upstairs watching what is going on downstairs. That's sad for Muknimin. For us, that's sad. For our people that's vulnerable, they don't know. They won't know the difference. And that's what's happening and has happened to us with theological education. Swinging roundabouts, hula hoops. And we ain't got no more cheek to turn. We ain't got no more back to be broken. We ain't got no more legs. We ain't got no more nothing. Nothing. But yet still we've got some stupid people that would join the opposition to highlight what the opposition have been doing, are doing, and continues to do to us. No wonder our children over here will run and have a face-off with the enemy, our people who want to make themselves our enemy without knowing exactly what they're doing. Because, they're being fed something, so they just behave like fanatics. And it'd be better if they just went to a football match and get their testosterone sorted out and scream and yell, Perhaps they don't get a goal and they come away hoarse, and perhaps they get a goal and they still come away hoarse, but they got something to cheer for. And because it's not their cultural behavior, that's morally sound, they will still fight one another. Regardless. Because the excitement takes them to another level, so they need some fuel, and they go and get some alcohol, and then hell breaks loose. So that's them. That's not us. What am I saying? We don't need to be stirred up. This is a time where we got a whole world that witnessed something. And that something they witnessed was one of their own, but a human being taking one of our lives. Unfortunately for us, they always heard about such things. But they never see such things because they were all busy. And true to this C-19, people were calm and in stationary. So they were a weakness. And the humane qualities of human beings were disturbed. Should we sit back now and dramatize that? No, keep emphasizing and let us get to the UN and let us get into the Senate and let us change that constitution, make the amendments, quick, sharp, turn the place over. If anyone needs any assistance, go and get goddamn the Planet of the Apes. If you need assistance, mental theoretical assistance, just do that, man. Go on one of these websites and download, upload, whatever the damn thing is, and just spend some time, sit down there with your chewing gum and everything, your orange juice and so forth, and watch Planet of the Apes and come to your conclusion. What's the final reel? You understand? It's a racist thing still, but boy, it explains a lot. So you can't just burn it up and not learn nothing from it. You see me? Seriously.
My skin is black, but that's no reason to hold me back.
Why don't you think about it, 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 think about it. I have wants and desires, just like you. So move on aside, because I'm coming through. Oh, oh, oh. No matter how hard you try, you can't stop me now. No matter how hard you try, you can't stop me now.
Yes, your skin is white. Does that make you right?
Why don't you think about it, 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 think about it. This is a message to you. Together we stand, divided before. Black is the color, just like white. Tell me, how can a color determine whether you're wrong or right? We all have our problems, yes we do. So look in the mirror, what do you see? What do you see? Two eyes, a nose, and a mouth just like me. Oh, your eyes are open, but you refuse to see the laws of society made for both you and me. Because of my color, I struggle to be free. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but in the end, you're gonna see my friend. Oh, no matter how hard you try, you can stop me now.
You got to ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You got to do your research for what you believe in. You got to ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You got to ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You got to do your research for what you believe in for. You got to invest your time, your energy, all that, so you can do what you supposed to do and excel in it. Y'all be thinking y'all waiting on God, and honey, God be waiting on you. What you waiting on? Do your part.
He that knoweth the words of Jah and doeth it not shall fall. Ooh, yeah. The righteous one is coming, coming to conquer the devil's throne. And no more will he roam, yeah. The righteous one is coming, coming to conquer the devil's throne. And no more will he roam, yeah. Go and go battle, sweet over victory. Go and go battle, sweet over victory. The road may be rocky, the hill may be steep now.
Things and times. Things and times. Channel of enlightenment. You're in tune to Things and Times with Mr. Best.
He that knoweth the words of Jah and doeth it not shall fall. Ooh, yeah. The righteous one is coming, coming to conquer the devil's throne. And no more will he roam, yeah. The righteous one is coming, coming
Things
All we know
and times. Things and times. Channel of enlightenment. You're in tune to Things and Times. Mr. Best.
It is gonna turn one day. Wickedness will burn one day soon. One day, Jah will wipe all our sorrows away, and that is when the wicked men will have to pay. One day soon. One day, you will find that I'm no play, we are play. Any work you do, you must get your pay. One day soon. When rightfulness start praying, wickedness will have to run away. When positive start to pray, wickedness will have to drift away. One day soon. One day soon. Because the fruits of the wicked can't prosper, they will end up in sudden disaster. One day soon. One day soon. One day, Jah will wipe all our sorrows away, and that is when the wicked men will have to pay. One day soon. One day, you will find that I no play, we are play, and any work you do, you must get your pay. One day soon. Because the fruits of the wicked can't prosper, they will end up in sudden disaster. Wickedness will have to run away. One day soon. One day soon. Rightfulness start to praying, wickedness will have to run away. When positive start to pray, wickedness will have to drift away. One day soon. One day soon. When every knee shall bow and every tongue confess, fret not yourself because of evildoers, 'cause Jah we serve, He's the best, He'll deliver us. One day soon. One day, Jah will wipe all our sorrows away, and that is when the wicked men will have to pay. He'll deliver us one day soon. One day, you will find that I'm no play, we are play, and any work you do, you must get your pay. One day soon. Because the fruits of the wicked can't prosper, they will end up in sudden disaster. One day soon. One day soon. When rightfulness starts praying, wickedness will have to run away. When positive start to pray, wickedness will have to drift away. One day soon. One day soon. One day soon. One day soon.
You got to ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You got to do your research for what you believe in for. You got to invest your time, your energy, all that, so you can do what you supposed to do and excel in it. Y'all be thinking y'all waiting on God, and honey, God be waiting on you. What you waiting on? Do your part.
Let's see.
God.
Yes. Right now we're gonna get some food for thought and take you down a road that I've been. Now, a lot of people hear me say, just like principle, I always drop the thing that I'm a Muslim. And that's just to let others outside here understand, know that, understand that, and even appreciate it, because that's what I am. And my theories, philosophies, opinions is coming from an Islamic perspective. You see? So just putting the truth where it needs to be, so that it doesn't disturb people. So me go down that road, you know. Al-Islam used by any nation of people will reform, transform, and not refigure population. If the population or the peoples them were somewhat disturbed, as what the Prophet came and found that the children of Abraham, salam, and the children of his son, Ishmael, went astray, and they were what we call Jahiliyyah, behaving, doing atrocious things. So the Prophet was sent because of that. And because also the most of the world were heathens. Because Islam never come for Arabia. Islam come for mankind, not a kind of man, for mankind. It's a light unto the earth. Al-Islam. Understand that little part there, which is huge. Al-Islam never come for no black man, and no white man, and no brown man. Al-Islam come for everybody. Every human being. Because this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's world. It's his universe. Anyhow, Al-Islam have the capacity to do anything except criminality. Al-Islam. Because Al-Islam is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who follow it are those who live by it, not follow, live by it, are called Muslim, the human beings. We can do anything. We should be good if we are here and we are sincere to ourselves, and if we are wanting to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be dutiful. But we're human beings. So we can stray. And it's our brothers, our sisters, our families that check our cloaks and keep us. You know, we all keep each other. Each one teach one. We all keep each other, and should do, working for Sirata Mustaqim, to be on the straight path. And Sirata Mustaqim amplifies our souls, because we yearn to find it, the straight path. That helps us, our passport. That helps us, our passport, to know home. To know home. That does. In this life, that helps us to do that. But we have to work for it. By pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pleasing other mankind, other human beings. First start with yourself and your family, etc., etc. And it builds. Now, let us say Al-Islam came to a place where the people them need help and assistance. The people them were straying. They weren't Muslims. By the sweat of our brow and what we do, if we are among them, and how we do what we do, would have an impact, should have an impact, and will have an impact on them, regardless who they are. And with the guidance that we are given and the examples that we have learned from the Prophet, peace and blessing upon him, we are there to encourage, spotlight, highlight, and motivate those souls, because they all belong, just like ourselves, to Allah. And then we leave the rest to Allah. All is for Allah, but we have no control over anybody, and we shouldn't be trying to have control over the people, or anyone for that matter. So it's based by examples, and like a good physician, good doctor, we are seeing frailties, weaknesses, needs, so we administer the antidote, the penicillin, whatever you. Then it's up to the participants, it's up to the peoples, whether it's a tribe, whether it's a nation, community, it's up to them. We assist, highlight areas, and leave them to it. But when it's your own, you go a step further, because you don't disconnect. You don't disconnect. You engage and continue to engage, because it's of your own lot. It's your own people, it's your own tribe, it's your own nation. So you have something in common. But you still do not try to be or present yourself as, or ourselves as, leaders over the people. It is not accepted. But we're humans. We love to be in the front row. We love to see ourselves as forerunners and front runners. But Islam does not support that. So we help ourselves and develop unique profiles for ourselves and promote dignity, eradicate oppression, ignorance, intolerance, and eradicate isolation. Because isolation allows a person or persons to be entrapped by vices. That's why we have the mosque. And the mosque have offices and a mirror. Just like you have a Lord Mayor, that is, their position is to vet the community. So we're all embracing. Is this a utopian? This is how British people and others think. No, no, no. These are examples that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the Prophet to give to us. And we iron out difficulties. Yes. Because we're not living in isolation. And we're not trying to outwit and outbetter each other like the Joneses. And we're learning. We're learning to develop institutions, if you like. But we're learning to develop society among ourselves, for ourselves, and strengthen ourselves. Because we take care of ourselves. And we have to be on time for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that makes us dutiful, 24/7, 365. Hey, it's consistent. But as Africans, outside of our own continent, we can be still independent, wherever we are. And we're too busy concentrating on self. So you see, self-love is there from the offset. From we say La ilaha illallah, self-love is automatic, long time. Our souls know that. We don't have to go to no special classes to learn self-love. We don't have to go to no special classes to learn trust and how to appreciate. We don't have to go to the man to understand how to develop a family. We do not have to lower our culture and step into someone else's to find out what we're doing and how we should do this and how we should do that. We don't need social welfare to tell us how to be social and what welfare means. That's the difference between the black man, the African man in the diaspora that's still trying to find out who we are. And that's pitiful. That is very, very pitiful. Now, Imam Worthy Muhammad expound Al-Islam in its entirety to African Americans and Africans in the diaspora, whoever would lend their ears, and transform the intellectual capacity of those who lent their ears and who were willing to read for themselves and to apply that which they are reading in their lives and develop an institution for themselves, independent with themselves. And that institution is called a home, a family, a bonding. First phase, priority number 1. And those who did not have a family as such, because everyone has a family, but those who have disconnected themselves for whatever reasons or purposes, had an adopted family. But There was no stone left unturned that prohibited him or his administration from seeking out whoever or those families that were disconnected for whatever reason and rekindle that love and affection. Even though some people may have said, I'm a Muslim now, or the others are saying, you've hurt us too much. We rekindled that because we're African and we're black first. And we use that as a priority and use our faith as that vehicle to glue and bond that, rebond that. And that's the excellence of that man's mannerisms and moral excellence, looking at families, looking at culture, looking at community, looking at nation, looking at building, looking at family, looking at the personality, looking at that loving, tender care that each individual wants. There's no human being that don't want that. There's none. These are deep qualities. And where did he get it? He got it from the example of Muhammad, the Prophet of Al-Islam. And he ranged it in projecting it and amplifying it in our lives. He put it into our space. He amplified it into our ears. And he demonstrated it into our very being from a spiritual enactment. Because once you were in attention, you learned, you feel. No drama. And nothing to do with no white man. To do with us. So for once we were involved in loving ourselves and developing ourselves and criticizing ourselves and growing ourselves, profiling ourselves and seeking dignity for each other and removing arrogance and hostility from our being. You know what that's called? True self-love. Now, for our people, that was sending them to sleep. There was no heat wave. That was sending them to sleep. There was no drama. There was no drama or trauma. There was no telling about what the white man is doing, what the white man is planning. We're too busy looking at ourselves and loving and appreciating ourselves and disseminating information from Al-Quran and the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. And building institutions, learning how to put institutions together from the bottom up. And attaining the knowledge, the understanding to pursue such. And the first phase, family, employment, education, health, welfare. Being responsible. Exemplifying common courtesies. And learning how to put our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Islam. Patience and endurance. And we grew with tolerance all over the world. Someone is saying, so what about discrimination? It exists. What about oppression? It exists. What about racism? It exists. What about the depiction of us as black? This exists. It's all there. Are they priorities in their respectful places? So they don't become burdensome on our being. Were they lawyers? Were they barristers? Of course. They had duties, responsibilities. Discriminations were dealt with where it's necessary, where needed. Racism, we understand. Areas of that was dealt with where necessary. We didn't amplify the status quo of our oppressors, or that which would oppress us, that which would demean us, that which would hoodwink us, that which would stagnate us. You can't build a car and you don't have no combustion. You can't have a car. You can, but with no valves. You know that the engine is not completed. It's not completed. So, in saying that is to say that we're more busy with ourselves than with what the system were amplifying. That's living. That doesn't mean that somehow our heads are like ostrich deep down in the sand. That is statements. These are aggressive statements that people make. And those same statements were made here in England pertaining to the Asian community, predominantly the Asian community. And generally, we never knew that the majority of those people were Muslims. And even if they were Hindus, didn't matter because they were all together. They worked together. They took care of their affairs. The only thing that they did not do, they couldn't deal with aggression. They didn't know how to retaliate. And our fathers and uncles did those things for them. And not because they requested it either, because we're good like that. We saw oppression. We saw them being victims. And we couldn't stand idly by and just let them be burnt and bashed everywhere. So just like most other things, we're always looking at someone else's business and try to help them out. But when the time comes that we need helping, there's nobody there for us. See? That's what happened here in Britain. When the time come that we needed help, the Asians weren't there. They never see it. They saw it, but they pretend they never see it because they were busy with themselves. Rightly so. But what about the common courtesy? What about the recognizing, the realizations? And today the imams behave the same way. But I'm not going down there too deep because I'm staying with us. I am saying that Al-Islam, through W.D. Muhammad, has been successful. It never yawned at any government, but it got itself right in the seat. And that's where we belong, because that's where we make change. And not to stay there to feel, yeah, I'm up there. No, to understand how that thing is done and then exercise it. That's how the Prophet taught. That's what wise men do. And that's what wise people would understand. They would recognize that. There's no point wanting to be a lawyer and then don't go to law school. And there's no point going to law school and don't go to in a courtroom to understand and see and experience how the courtroom operates. I mean, you're playing a game with your friends. That's not the status quo. You have to do that. No matter which level of law or doctorate that one is attaining, we have to do it. It's a must. But if we're going to tell each other about the law and can't practice the law and then demonstrate the law in the court where the law resides, what are we doing? What would be the reason? What would someone be doing? How would you see that person or persons? We'll call them a show-off and an imbecile to that, because they playing Perry Mason when we ain't got no cameras, we ain't got a theater, but they're playing Perry Mason with us. And we're getting some orgasms because we don't know better. But since it's gone on and on and on, we now know better. But then we become mentally inequipped to say, stop. Don't move a muscle. This is going on too long. We don't like your drama anymore. Don't change the script. Stop. Why? Because it's making us all being imbeciles. He or she. We are guilty of that type of mannerism, attitude, highlighting. And now, at this turning point, is that what we want to do for our children and leave them like that? And we should be wise. Because we're not young fillies. Our children and grandchildren are. So what is it that we're clinging on to? Imam Wadi Muhammad continue in his reign to always talk about transitioning. No one lives forever. And no one should see themselves as superior to anyone and try to hold on to a position of authority forever or for a long duration of time for no apparent reason, but just want to be recognized. Africa has made that thing so natural that ain't true. And look how much millions and billions there are, and they don't do nothing about it. Why is that? It's because the Caucasian is the one who's backing it, who's supporting it, because it works for him, it works for them. I'm showing you that Al-Islam does not legislate none of that foolishness. And I'm using my Imam as an example that didn't want world recognition or our own recognition for anything. All he wanted was the opportunity to turn us around from a man God, turn us around from bad attitude, turn us around and know how to appreciate, love, and have great affection and appreciation for ourselves. And stop looking somewhere else for some maker and breaker and shaker to come and take us out of whatever trauma that we're stuck within, or we mentally allow them to stuck us within. Because all these things are vices belonging to other people that draws you in and then mentally entrap you because the focus of attention now is on such. And if you watch it, you see how it magnetizes. Huh? And it gets to a stage where it starts to desensitize the very emotion of the same people are highly emotional because of what? Oppression, discrimination, racism, segregation, all these things. Then you have the sociologists and psychologists of the opposition who's caused the real problem. Now they're going to have a depiction of what the black race is, what the black people. Hear them talking now. Not the Africans, the black people. You hear Americans talking, and they don't say that the Africans or the Americans, they say the black people, the black people, the black people. And when they talk about themselves, them talk about Wisconsin and Louisiana and Detroit and New York and Washington. Everything else, the black people, the black people. So you don't see the racial disparities. And there's no intellect among all these people that turn around and say, hold on a minute. If you can't call me an American, why the hell you keep calling me black, the black people? So there's so much of us, we don't know who the hell they're talking about, but it's all of us is in the same. So that generalization that they would drop on me, no one is saying, hold on a minute, how comes you generalize us like that? What happened? What happened? If you said Africans, I'll be good with it. But when you keep saying black, you're showing me that there's a racial disparity here. But why wouldn't you condemn it? No. That's a racist disparity. Please exercise your intelligence. So you go slow. And then you see. And then you understand. And then you're not going to tolerate insults. Similarly, when the man said to my great-great-grandmother that she was free, she didn't know what the hell he's talking about. Up to now in her grave, she don't know what the backside I'm talking about. She never went left, right, back, forward, north, east, south, or west. She had to be shush, go. Go away. And then where to? Someone else grab her. And that someone else now had the audacity again, because they know that we don't know, she don't know, sold her onto someone else, exchange her onto someone else, and it continue. So when they said that they gave us freedom, what freedom? Who speaks like this? Imam Worthy Muhammad. How did we come to this conclusion? Because it's the facts. What was the facts? We read. What we read? We went to research. We went in all these vaults, right, to try to get our people to a level of maturity. Yeah? Learning maturity. I wouldn't say intellectual maturity, learning maturity. People, that takes time. But if we was on the browbeating, man, people just be like, yeah, fire and brimstone and thunder and everything else. But no. So from 1975, 76, that was a different day in time. But some other people wanted to retain the time pass and keep browbeating and keep playing the drum, keep playing the same note, not even trying to learn a different note. Keep playing the same note. And louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. So our emotions just keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. But changes. And those of you, any of you who have family, relatives that can understand what I'm saying, look at what happened in that time. So many different groups appeared. Excluding the Black Panthers, so many different groups of people using the same browbeating tactics. And now we've got thousands, hundreds of splinter groups. And institutions that were already there were neglected because everybody's on this move. What's the move? The more you can charm ourselves, the more audience you will have. The more you can come up with the most exotic or colorful costume, the more attraction, more attention you'll get. And it continues up to today. So we've evolved in foolishness and ignorancy. And the man is still sitting watching us and say, they haven't figured it out yet. They haven't. We haven't. We haven't figured out nothing. We're the children, the grandchildren, but yeah, we've gone to school. Some of us have learned. We've got degrees, blah, blah, but we ain't figured out life. We ain't figured out love. We ain't figured out God. Of all things, we haven't figured out God. We just keep trying to figure out difficulties and allow someone to keep pushing this thing. And listen. And then we let our children grow in hardship because we ain't figuring out life. And then we are going to have the cheek, the audacity, goddammit, to look at each other and say, hey, guess what? It's white supremacy that's got this thing going. How the hell do you know that? How did you know that? How comes your intellect can depict, recognize, and then coin a phrase and use it and then say, what? So what about the people? I mean, since that's been recognized, I mean, what is the fortune? You're saying that's the misfortune. Okay, and that brings hardship. Okay, where's the relief? What is the relief? This is the problem. We always seem to recognize hardship and the cause of the hardship, but not how to prohibit the hardship and keep moving on. And the theological practices is still the order of the day, because it wasn't for us. We find some solace within it, individually, collectively, no. But why do we turn up in numbers? Because we want our spirituality, we want our souls to be at peace. And we go with the expectation, hoping, wanting comfort, spiritual comfort. Because that's what we are as well. That's the key of us. We're moral, spiritual, rational people, African people. And most especially us in the diaspora, African Caribbeans. We know that 1,000%. We know that. But our preachers don't appreciate don't appreciate that, don't recognize that, to push that. They just know that the teaching that they've got to gravitate to us is adequate enough. And that's why things stay the way they do. So where does Islam fit in here? It doesn't tolerate all that. It gives freedom of leadership to each and every one. That's where it fits. But then you're going to read me or try to tell me what the white man said. It's a lie. That's what you think. That's what you want to think. If you know that to be true, then you're saying that you are the one that's a liar. And if you appreciate that which you're trying to would now say, then the question is, why haven't you been doing it? Why have you been teaching it? Why have you been incorporating it? See? And that's what my son would do. Would ask those wise. Why this, why that? So critical thinking people, many of us seem not to have been taught it, recognize it, and those of us who have not transmitted it to our parents and transfer it and tutoring our children. And in the society that we live within, we need to have that first and foremost in our existence, in our being. We're assessed and we're stereotyped as criminals. Profile. Black must be a criminal. It must be doing something. It's got stolen property. It's got an offensive weapon. It's got drugs. See? So as a Muslim, them can profile we a little bit more. And we have to justify ourselves. That's all good. Because we're not in that. We're not taught, we're not supported in those vices. It's going to be inconvenient, but our imams, our legal administration would take care of that for not me, but for all of us as a community. See? A sober work. Tough. You understand? Not just for me. They will deal with my case, but they would amplify that case in relation to the community itself. So there's individualism, but there's also a collective, which we fall short of understanding. The church go to the church, do their thing, all praise due to the Lord, blah, 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 and so forth. Then everybody goes back to God and business and think they're exclusive. And then I get my ass in trouble, but because I'm not of that fellowship, no one's paying attention. They just say, well, boy, Mrs. Brown, boy, and such and such and such and so forth. So then we wash through, you know, we talk about each other and blah, blah, blah. And then we start distancing ourselves from our neighbors, etc., etc. So now you see the syndrome. Islam, we don't do that. We can't do that. We cannot do that. So you see, our institutions, how they're run, how they're developed, how they're put in place is far, far different. So why does I keep saying these things, dropping these slide shots, is to push that there. We're somewhat alike, but we're dissimilar. And we're just Africans. Our way of lives and everything are dissimilar. What we would tolerate and what you tolerate is completely different. But can we share the same space? Yes, of course. This belongs to God, the earth. Can we exchange ideas, opinion, philosophies? Of course. It requires truth, though, and sincerity. So when you get these hot, emotional people, which Imam Wardi Muhammad wasn't, too many of us like that. Back to Allah's depiction of us, or of human beings, some human beings, the appreciation of plain amusement. Now the white man knows that. Right now he's having a well of a time because he says, okay, you know, I just play with them. The only problem he has is that so much of his people have viewed that atrocity, that murder, and they're sympathetic for the human life. And they're showing it. So they have to come with a different strategy on how to deal with them, but they know how to deal with us. So those of us who can pull some powerful strings, they're told to say, well, hey, guess what? Remember who pays your salary. And that's what's happening in America right now. Artists, sportsmen, they're having to look at themselves. And they're weak. They are weak. They're rationally, morally weak. They're ethnic, culturally weak. Them see themselves a bunch of little individuals and their little rights, and they say, "To hell with them people, man. Got to have things to do." Crying shame. A crying shame. Seriously, a crying shame. It's a cry in shame. Now down to the Caribbean. The masters have said, open up. You understand? We are missing our fetish behaviors. All things, we're missing that clean water and that white glossy sand and then that clean sea and food. So let's get it on. We'll sort the money out later. Not we, you. That's it. Crude behavior. You think they're thinking about the population's welfare? Nah. Got more important things to do. You know, our lifestyle. We need to uphold that. To hell with you. Remember something here, son. We tell you, you don't tell us. That's it. How dare you? Do you realize who you're speaking to? That's it. Now, the other astonishing thing about this Caribbean thing is that some people, if it's my children and my sister's children and grandchildren and my brother's children and grandchildren, that say, well, me never know that emblem I saw the other day, uncle, and this and that person that's got the wings on supposed to be St. Michael and the person underneath meant to be a black person. Ooh, how appalling is that? And then one of them said, wait, why you never tell us about this? And why daddy never tell us about this? My mother would have been slapping us all. Because we're supposed to share that. I'm not supposed to become a shock in 2020. And it's rippling through the Caribbean and everywhere like, oh, it's the first time you saw it. What kind of nonsense is that? What kind of nonsense is that? And then some idiot will turn around and tell us, no, it's a new one they make. No new one they make. You wasn't paying attention. Say that. Say you never knew. You never looked. When them have the trooping and so forth, you wasn't there. You never attended any of them. When the transitioning of the governor generals, you didn't pay attention and see who the hell that person is, and you never got to the Ratid office yet. I've tried to find out what is the governor general all about? What is the office all about? But in 2020, you want to turn around and goes, how appalling, this is most racist. God blimey, man. You make the youth them feel such a you're an idiot. And they should. Them should turn around and say, you fools. And nobody don't seem to recognize how idiotic that has been. Still them turn around and say, listen, son, daughter, and point it out. And then tell them, say, listen, write a letter to Her Majesty and tell us, say, listen here, we don't see you for what you really are. And we have no respect for this monarchy and these things. But now, you go and tell people, wait, we never know that. How appalling, this is very... Go blimey, man. That's why I can't get my head around the idiotic behavior and people them just use the Windrush ship to say they might represent the immigration move from the Conservative to rebuild England after the war, and you talk about Windrush, and Windrush have nothing to do with it. Eh? You understand? And not to say that Caribbean people never got on some. And the only some is Jamaica that jump on a ship called the Windrush and docked it here. Ratted. Oh, I tell you, man. You see, so it's about information, proper information, deciphering information, and informing the people. All right. And not hype the people them to get your attention, to be the spotlight shine bright on you. We suffer ourselves as well as the oppressor. And self-oppression is very hard to acknowledge because it's stagnant. Stagnation. It don't accomplish anything. Just the heat. Yeah, just the heat. You know, we have some dog, you call it mad dog, and them just can't stop barking and barking, and them bark themselves till them get sore throat. And even then them still ratted barking. Now you people them not tearing your children them like that. They were always like these barkers. And out of 10,000 words, they have said 500. That's electrifying. It's natural. And especially us, it's natural. We know how to do those things. We should be steering our children away from such. Because we've been there. And we know it hasn't done or changed anything. It just excited. It was just an excitement. We're going to bust up Babylon in a rear. And Babylon still there. Which Babylon get bust up? And if we did, pray tell us, what would have changed? If we go court, fight, lose, go back again. You understand? We can't lose all the time. And sometimes we have to look and, not sometimes, we have to look and see, oh, we lose. Why did we lose? Assess the thing. But you see with us, when we know that we're right, we not lose. Nah. You think say you win today? Nah, we back at you tomorrow. This is how African Caribbean, that's how we are. That's the real us. But when you got someone that done something wrong, present themselves to be done something right, God damn it, you're on the losing wicket. You should be on a winning wicket, but you're on a losing wicket. Because they lied to us. And then we are once bitten, twice shy. That's us. So how much pastors have misused us? How much of us have misused ourselves? So we haven't got the energy. We're tired. We're exhausted. We need a new look, new vision, new frontier. And we need it quick. You see accountability, responsibility, integrity. We need all of that in a hurry. But we don't need it as bullet points. We need to analyze, assess, and evaluate. We need to look at social science critically. We need to get some of them sociologists round the table and analyze, inspect, retrack developments and find that unique human structure that employs behavior. Truthful, honest, sincere behavior. And do not accept anyone to stamp or step on our feet, right or left. That's how you build institutions. Then you defend them with the human quality of self-reliance. Someone is saying, what happened to the economics? Economics bullshit. You need social skills, social trust. You need love and harmony. You need the key to human existence. It's not money. That comes later. Because if you want to procreate, first you have to find a female. And then you have to fall in love with that female and the female fall in love with you. This is no battery hen business. You see, some of you are laughing, innit? You understand? So that will come when we have love and affection and harmony, tranquility, all those nicey things we have, which is surround trust. Finance will take care of itself, true to the souls working correctly. A serious principle, you know. Very serious one. Look at economics from bottom up. The key is about appreciation, not marketing. And then trust is built on pillows. We've all acknowledged somehow, somewhere in this country that they review all their banks and the stock exchange. Because they know the probability of a smart, very clever peoples, which is required. But you have some cunning ones, and they just know that that's going to happen, but they review, constantly review. And some of them slip through the net, like Lawson and this one, right? Some of them do. But they found out. It only helps the structure to get better. To get better. Their structure, not ours, their structure. Islamic, we don't go down that route. And that's not to say that we don't have people that do things. No. We're not trying to say that we're developing angels. Nah, by far. But you still got to get somewhere. We're not there yet. We're not matured. We're not even children. We're not matured. And a lot of us out there going to go, who the hell do you think is? We're not. What? Because you had sex with somebody and you got a couple of children and such, you're not responsible for any of them, or one of them or something like that. That's what you call maturity. Seriously, I got to drop you. You understand? No, stop it, man. You got a car, right? Got a flat, right? Yeah. Got a house, right? Got 2 cars outside. You got 2 mistresses, such and such. You call that maturity? No, please. I beg you to think. Beg you to think seriously. You know what I mean? Serious. So, you know, we got to look at some of our misfortunes as a people, right? Tribulation, you know, and the adversities of tribulation. That should be the next thing I deal with. So let me find a tune because I've been there upon the thing long time. You see? So, and you know something with me, you know, when things like this happen, somebody should pick up the phone and say, yo, you know all them things I suggest now? And that make no sense to I, you know. You see? It's not a joke me I'm making, you know. It don't make no sense to the eye. See it? I stronger than that, you know, I. Where I whiplash black people for. Me not whiplash nobody. But me I tell the truth. I'm speaking the truth. The truth. So, W.D. Muhammad, yes man. See? So him not browbeat nobody. Him just make we go and learn. See? So we have a nation out there, but nobody don't want to see our nation. What they want to see is some hot gossips about the history of America and my predictions. Nah. Where's the black man gone? Where's the black man going? How come so much people? Do you know since George died, yeah? Last week, it was 102, right? George dies, and 2 weeks prior to George, after George died, there was 102 black persons, African American persons, that were killed by law enforcement officers across the place. And 2 of them happened to be persons in a wheelchair. Can you imagine? 2 are reported as 2 individuals who are in a wheelchair. Who's in a wheelchair? Terrible. You see why me like myself, me like what me I do, me on principle, eh? We try to stay on the mark. You understand? We try. You see it there? Okay. Cultural roots. When me play my sound system, you know, them tune that we drop about Reddings and Leicester and Bradford, Bristol.
There's certain environments you've got to go through. From you're born in the ghetto, there's certain environments you've got to go through. Like buck off a toe, like buck off a toe, Tim Bim, whoa. And then you school from school, go down a gully. Me say go right, feel scared, and raise your good horse. Then hardly anyone can say until it's too late. Whoa.
Yes, apologies. Me never look over this, you know. And I like the comments to look at your screen. When I look, me have that something. Me have to tell you the truth. Me have that something there on the. Me have gravel. Me have that something there on my left eye, and then me have something on my other thing on my right eye, and then me have something straight in front of me. So apologies for that. But yes, you see, law. Hold up. It's not that hey, we will deal with that on Thursday, you know. But you see that? It's not that law and legal aid and all of them things is not important to us, you know. But you see me, I'm about the prevention, right? And then once we have the prevention, legal aid and all them something that me not care about, you know. I'm going in the court, right? And Uncle Courtney, when him come on, God willing, soon, you will understand that that's it's not old school, but the old school was that we went, you harm us, we get harmed. Well, look, legal representation, we are deal with the thing that way. There were some people that come after and them want them, no, they didn't want to. They weren't too sure how to represent themselves. And Courtney would explain to London and the world how them figured that out. as individuals, as lawyers, and decide that this is the way forward. We have to focus this way. But we had an individual here called Lord Pitt, and that's where I learned it from. Lord Pitt says that England built itself on education, high learning, and law. So when them try to screw you over, make sure that you can table them in a court of law. Not just like that, but, you know. So in Islington, we had Michael X, Brother Herman, a lot of other people, and they always showed us the route. And the route, them take the side to take the court, the police, whoever it is. Because we had to take these landlords to court. We got to find that out. Not we were just arguing with them, finish up on the street, going nowhere. So we found out about tribunal. And once it was open that you go there and you present yourself, there's no Caribbean on this earth that will not go and voice out them rights as them see it. It wasn't the rights according to the system, but it was the injustices that someone was inflicting upon us. Yes. You understand? So it is years later, as me as a youth now, them times, get to hear about this legal aid and all them something there. But we flee from them things, because those things come and charm us, make us feel so that they must help we. But they were helping themselves part of the whole system, knowing very well that we did not really understand how the system worked. But as we grew, you know, people like Courtney and Roddy Kintish and what's the brother that died? And these people, they made it easier for us to understand because they've gone to school, college, they've learned law. Before they even qualified, they were reading law and making us young people understand how to represent ourselves on the street and how not to infringe. See, this is very important. To infringe on the law. And how to use our social skills, intellectual skills, our writing skills to take note when a police officer a frisk we. So it's a serious thing. And in Islington, we like the law. And Courtney, them days, they back there down at Bricks, and we like the law. There was a different set of people that refused to be obedient. And we're not talking about the British bully boys or the British bully police. Because we have arrogant people within ourselves. I beg you something. How is it that Americans, yeah, them know? Them know already. Nobody have to tell them that the police have gone. Would you think it's sensible that someone should be running or try to run? Which man faster than a bullock? It don't make sense. We know there's a fear factor, but listen, sense prevail. They have guns. It's not one person. Sometimes there's several of them. I mean, they practice. They practice on the range. They practice. You look up their stats. There's never shoot to wound. It's always shoot and kill. So you know that they're good. So why am I going to try to run? Who? What is this? I know someone out there is also saying, oh, but I have been stopping. I was very polite. I got out my car, take my everything out my pocket and everything, but they still racially abuse me. Yep. That's how they are. Did you do anything to reinflate the situation and put yourself in a more volatile situation? Please say no. If you didn't, we say alhamdulillah. Now the next step. Next step is that, did you record not by your phone? Did you get your pen and paper, something out of your car, out your pocket somewhere, and write the whole thing down, fresh out of head, and so forth? See? I was trained. Someone tell me something has changed, and to hell with it, it doesn't work. I said, well, then you you're not consistent. Yeah, the door gets closed, it gets closed, it gets closed. But you see, we keep pushing and pushing, it gets open. And we have opened many doors. There's some people that have come along wanting to close those. Wise, our uncles, everybody else have worked very hard to open them up. So through lack of transitioning, a new door is put there. And it's locked. Because my children and your children is not supposed to be inside those doors, because some imbeciles like me helped that door to be changed and locked. Nah. My mother and father come too far. Open up those doors. Open up those institutions. So I didn't have to think about finishing school and someone tell me about be a mechanic and be a carpenter. Now forget about being a technician. Oh, no. I want to go to university. Now they're telling our children go sixth form center. Come on, man. It's about looking back to go forward. And if our elders that should be like the House of Lords ain't using their wisdom to project that, we would always go back to looking for legal aids and go back to all that other stuff, and then turn around and say, well, how are we handling our communities? How are we behaving? How are we handling our affairs? Those things are scattershot. These are individualistic stuff that people do. And at the same time, we have to be sympathetic to them because they're one of us, but they've broken the line. And if it's from our community, we're responsible too. So should our community be a goody-goody two-shoes? Yes. Who for? Us. I'm not competing with a white man. I'm competing with myself. That's where the whole black thing is messed up. There's no ideology. It's foolishology. It's messed up. I'm too busy loving myself. Not me as an individual, us. I'm too committed to doing good by ourselves. No white man is involved in my shit at all. When him cross my threshold and interfere, it's us he has to deal with. It's us that's representing us. We ain't got there yet. We need to be there. We should have been there. We should have been there. And we could be there in a hurry. We could be there in a hurry. But we got people that want to go down to City Hall. We got people that want to get economics, want to get money to this side. And listen, we don't have people that just want to see this thing as a marathon and just get it quick. We don't see this thing as developing institution. We don't see this thing as making love to each other. We just see this thing having orgasms. I'm not into the orgasm stuff. Yeah, with my wife perhaps, but I'm not even saying perhaps, that's private. But I don't want social orgasms. I don't want community orgasms. No, I'm too old for that. And when I was young, I wasn't even in that, man. I was taught how to prevent that stuff. I'm an old school. I'm a young person that had old school training. I became an adult with old school head, and now I'm old, still with that same head and seasoned. That's it. That's it. But we have to be too busy loving each other and trusting each other and working with each other and take some other person's business out of our mindset. Some things will happen. Definitely. This is the law of things. We're somewhere else. But we deal with that in-house. And if it's my behavior, then you have to check me. If I'm driving my car like a lunatic, goddammit, and I'm getting stopped and so on, if I'm pedaling and so on, hey, don't just say it's a black bro. No, that man needs to be dealt with. He's one of us. Yeah, you have to deal with him. Not him going to keep doing the same shit all the time. He shout, wolf, 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 and we keep attending to him. But if we train him and say, listen, enough is enough. Enough is enough. That's where the social science come in here. You understand? I know what I'm saying. That's where the social science come in here. There's some people that need training, retraining, and train. See? Not because they got balls, not because she's got breasts, that it's a woman. Yeah, it's a female, it's a male. But they are mentally equipped for social development. It's the training that many of us haven't had. Many of us haven't had. Them loose man, them that drop seed everywhere and then graduated to be a father. They're sperm donors. And poor sisters. And why are they poor sisters? Because that's what a woman does. Love and tender care, sees to all the child she bears. So men seems to know this. So they walk away from their responsibility and leave me as a social tyrant for us. For us. And then we have a burden in our own society, in our own community, in our own atmosphere. Them things we have to shut out, clean up, dust them off. Responsibility, accountability. Where am I going? Like a preacher. This is Islamic science. This is social science. It's social science. But it's black love, if you want to name it. It's African love, if you want to name it. Self-gratification, not glorification. People get spunk up with that. I ain't one of those. So, we have to attend and stand to attention. Examine by re-examining. Assess and evaluate. Self-analysis, self-critic is the best one. I'm not taking my stats from no white man chambers, no social services chambers. It has to come from us. We need the help. I give someone a good scenario. The major riot at Notting Hill Gate Carnival, we were in attendance. Myself and more than 20 young men attended that carnival. Not as participants, just as visitors. And a fray broke out. We were listening to the new champion song, Rastafari song that just come out. Just Shaka. Nah, Shaka. Yeah, I think the Jack come later somewhere, but Shaka. And we was up by Mangrove. So when the thing, some scuffling was told to have started, where we were up that hill there, that slope, we could have looked down and see the Labrador Grove station and look across Portobello Road and everything. Some of us got up on top a post box and a telephone booth, and we can see now the exchanges of missiles and different things. So it never occurred to us about going and have a look in her. We're safe. We're not in a hurry, in a commotion. So Shaka still a play because nothing going up there. We are listening to Shaka, but we are watch. And the reason me come down off the phone box is because my foot get tired to write it, because it was kind of rounded, yeah. So it's not like you could have relaxed there. And there was so much of us trying to view it from that angle. So I'm in love. I try penetrate Shaka in him, you know, cause them time they one of them selected, two of them selected them, my brethren, I exchange rhythms with him, cause him realized that we forward. So that was that, you know. So the long and the short of the whole thing is, by the time the things start get rough, bad, even Shaka get in the news. And him play one tune for say him gone to and everything. And that tune there cause man and man them for they say, sure, him not gonna wear now. So then you see whole heap of man them, enough Rasta youth and everything, right? That, you know, Jah will protect us and everything. Oh, some man them a get, right? So them a keep the wicked things, right? So people have come out and make a big circle around the sound and everything. Meanwhile, me round up my brethren them and my brethren that was close to me and everything. And we exit. We left. We walk up by Metro, gone to Westbourne Park Station and gone right round, and we left. Okay. Less than 7 days later, 18 of them youth there, them young man them, got arrested for robbing persons unknown. 18 of them house, the parents' places, doors got knocked off and them got dragged out of their beds and everything. For robbing persons unknown at Notting Hill Gate. Bearing in mind that they never had no cameras like now. Right. So there's me now, not one of them. No one come to my parents' house. The people that come to my parents' house was some of the parents of those same young men. Asking me what happened. Asking my parents to ask me what happened. And I'm saying, what happened about what? And now I'm getting to know. Because you came, so we knew, and the next family come, and it just went on like that. And then I look at my mom and dad and say, well, wait a minute, why not me? Boy, my dad was so furious. You idiot! I said, but why not me? How come all of them? So when I got the first opportunity to get away from my mom and dad, I gone up to Holloway. I'm a gone police station, you know. Wallahi. I swear by God Almighty, I'm a gone police station. I'm a want to know how you could arrest these young men, these people. You're not arresting me. And why you can arrest them? What you arrest them for? Who's these persons unknown that them supposed to rob? And I can vouch for all of them. Because we come back. We went together and we come back together. And me stayed with that till me die now. Me stay with that. And then my brain showed me, say, listen, we can't make these people do this. And that's how I become a social worker and welfare worker and youth worker and all of that, you know. Me's an engineer. So black people, understand something, man. Right? So, me just mobilize people. I said, no, we can't have this. But what was happening with me was that in my part-time hours, in my evening hours, after doing electronic engineering, I became a youth worker. So I was a youth worker at the same center where all of those young men was attending. So that's how they knew me. There was only 2 individuals in that group that we were friends. We went to school together. We studied together. The only thing we never do is sleep together. I mean, sleep in the same bed. Yes. So, all of those things are astonishing. But I knew all of their parents. Because my parents knew their families. But we weren't friends. There was a gap between us in age, and we didn't, they were younger than me, and I was in the upper 6 at school when most of them was in 4th or 5th year. So I was ahead of them. Okay. But as one of the questions that I got there, what was important to me to know, and I did know through the youth center, was that they were not criminals. And even if they were, no police could have proved that they did anything because we were together. And who are these people that they meant to steal from? That's unknown. This is England. This is England. And up to today, I don't know why they did not arrest me. But I now went to court and the judge asked, right, how could I be given affidavit for 18 people? And I said, because I'm the leader. And I meant youth leader, but I just said, I'm the leader. And he goes, you are the leader? And I said, yeah. And the second thing he tried to say, someone from County Hall, the ILEA, the Inner London Education Authorities, jump up and said something, and then somebody said something, and then they had a talk, and then they asked that person to speak, and that person represented me by saying that I'm the youngest training youth leader, blah, 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 right? They kind of spiced it up and make it, a big height thing, and then I was laughing. And then the judge got back to me. This is at the Old Bailey. The judge got back to me and said, so you're standing by that? And I said, yes. And I said, sir, can I say one thing? And he said, yeah. I said, I don't understand how comes they never arrested me. How comes they didn't come to my parents' house? My dad was furious again. So that was it. Long and short, really, we won. When I say we won, those young people won. I mean, some of them stayed in, they didn't give them bail and so forth. Some of them had breakdowns and such, but I was determined that the system can't get away with that nonsense. Now, that wasn't me at all. That was my elders that I've listened to and I've admired, that was the seed that they sowed in my brain on how to survive in this country as a young black male. And that's how Courtney and, what's the brother name that died? That's how they knew me. I was a great architect then. I knew how to mobilize people for the benefit of us, not my benefit. I didn't need nothing. And you know why I was like that? Because my parents made me, my grandparents made me to always feel independent. So I didn't need anything. I just needed to know that the truth was going to prevail. And I'm still like that. And I believe that. And I believe that until I die. The truth will prevail. It may be a rocky road in some cases, but determination wins through. And my committee, see what I mean, self praises, no recommendation. The committee that we were able to form, that aided and supported me, and I wanted, were women. The youth steering committee were a bunch of women with myself. Then you had the parent committee, because it's their children. But the youth steering committee, a bunch of women, young women, and myself. And then I co-opted, and I'm saying me now, I co-opted 3 other people, 3 young men that I call my friends. And the criteria for them being there is that they do not see any of those sisters as individuals that they want to have relationship with for the reason why they're there. They had to come there for the reason why what we're pursuing, not that them see them to be sexual and everything and then come make friends. Nah. And out of that fantastic relationship, we got a basketball team, a female basketball team. So it's a great deal of things that's happened in that learning curve. Then I met people like Roddy Kentish, Vince Saenz, and all these, a lot of people, a lot of people. And they met me, really. And, and the libraries and us were good friends. Because we had all of our meetings in library. And then I become a bad boy and I left my mom and dad. That's a strange thing that happened. I wasn't ready to leave home, but the work became so intensified being an activist. So the project set up housing co-ops. Yeah, man, housing co-op and so forth. We met Tony Soares from Dashik. No, Tony from. Oh gosh, man, they still have houses in Tooten, Ujima, right? And bought Ujima all the way up to Islington and Haringey and Hackney. So it's a great experience, and I know it can work, and I know that the pros and the cons, but I also know that we just have to commit ourselves to ourselves and not to systems, and we do just right. Because we weren't educated in law. Rudy Narayan, that's his name, Rudy Narayan. When Rudy met me the first time, Rudy just said, "Yeah, I'm gonna help. I'm gonna help this thing. I would like to, And we management, you steering met. the parents committee met, and we invited him up again. We personally invited him because some other people brought him to us, and he shared a stage with us. So we learnt about him. And then we went and checked out his community, checked out his family, and we handed over all our files to him and accepted his guidance to file that case called the Islington 18 case. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me for not reading this thing. Principle, it have to be up here. Somebody have to be up here and read this something there. I will read them all. I will copy them off, God willing, read them all and respond to them in kind duly on Thursday, God willing. So 2 tunes in my gun, because I've stayed very long, right? So I had to say that because I see all this thing about legal aid and all that. Nah. Mm-mm. So give thanks. I'm glad for that. So now you know I said that me deep. There's something. I know it's not answering the question, but I've gone around it, and that's the way I am. I'm smart. Yeah. So forgive me when I say I, yeah, because, you know, when I boast myself, and I've kept that, and maybe there's a spirit in that writing why I've told you that, because that would have come in a discourse with Courtney or someone like that, because, and it wasn't supposed to say what I said. It was just supposed to say, I'm supposed to say, and project it to say that once you're in the pursuit of justice, you will prevail. That's how those adults have taught us in Islington. Not just me, us. And I firmly believe that. And we have evidence for that. So the individual on the comments, give thanks for that. Thank you very much. But don't think that I'll be so self-centered because I said we, I. No, sorry. That just happened because it wasn't meant to come out. It shouldn't have come out, but some spirit says, explain who you are, perhaps. So now, greedy woman, all this. Mighty Cultured Roots, Guidance, we're gone. This is the last one. Mighty Cultured Roots. Nah, me not play that tune now. Cause you see when you play that tune now, I can see some hips. Yeah, joke best. So hold this. Yeah. That tune I play Thursday. How long, black people, African people? And I'm a mother's child, you know. See, mommy's boy. Listen. Starvation.
You got to ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You got to do your research for what you believe in for. You got to invest your time, your energy, all that, so you can do what you supposed to do and excel in. Y'all be thinking y'all waiting on God, and honey, God be waiting on you. What you waiting on? Do your
Now get
part.
up and do something before something do you. Do something, brother, do something. Make a move, sister. Every touch is a move, so get up and groove. Good God, over and under, like a crown and anchor. Woo! Get back, baby, get back in the musical trance. Here I come with happiness. Take off your shoe and get on the floor and move and groove. Move, baby. Every touch is a move. Groove me, baby, groove me. Good God. Forward the song, brother, forward the song. We don't go back. Pass the ball around. And the ball gone wrong. Round and round and round. Do something. Do something, do something. Do something before something do you. Every touch is a move. Groove, baby, groove. Groove, baby. You cute little thing. Woo! No boy, no girl can mess up our world. No, no, no. Do something before something do you. Give me love, baby, give me love, give me something, ting, ting. Woo! Every touch is a move, that's what I would say. Cool down, cool down, cool down.
Guidance, we gone. Assalamu alaikum, be safe. We're good. God willing, we're there with you. And Thursday, reflection. We'll deal with that Caribbean situation, that Caribbean point of view more. And that put the people in life at risk for man. The citizen, the population come first. England don't come first. Tourism don't come first. The lives of the people come first.